Hello there, people of the internet. Fun little hypothetical situation for you guys. I was asked, hey, what is the best prepared citizen slash Minuteman setup that you can get in terms of firearms for under 500 bucks? And I'll be honest, there's not a lot that you can do for $500 or less. There's a couple of caveats I was given. Had to be a primary rifle and a sidearm, and we're talking specifically like Minutemen level stuff, like prepared citizen level stuff, not home defense, not concealed carry, not anything like that. If we were talking about your much more likely scenario where you might need your CCW for some sort of defensive purpose versus a full-fledged societal collapse, I think I would tell you don't even bother with the rifle. Just go and spend that whole $500 on your CCW handgun and make sure that you get one that is good and reliable, get more mags, get ammunition, maybe get yourself a light and optic on it and a proper holster, and that would be what I would recommend for things. But for the hypothetical situation that we're having in this just for fun video, if we have $500 to prepare for like a full-fledged societal collapse, and we're looking at firearms, what do we do? And that is a hard one. That is a very hard one. So there's a couple of options, but I think that I've determined what your best options are going to be. And it's going to take some looking around. This isn't something that you would find necessarily on the commercial market, but it absolutely can be found out there. Your budget tier ARs, like your Radical, your Anderson, your PSA, insert your choice of entry-level AR here, these tend to be pretty gosh darn good. And you can buy them brand new for about 400 bucks. But you can find them on the used market if you go to pawn shops, gun stores, maybe find something on consignment, something like that. Maybe you got a buddy who has a couple of these and he's like, yeah, I can part with one. I've bought them myself personally for about 300 bucks. So if you can manage to find a used one that's not completely tore up at that $300 price point, I would recommend going with that. We're going to go ahead and split the difference and say that it's going to cost you about $350 because maybe you got transfer fees or shipping or anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and just call it $350 for a used entry-level AR, which is pretty gosh darn standard. You can find that pretty easy if you looked around. You may even find some better deals than that. I would recommend going with something that has an aluminum receiver because we're talking like long-term potential situations versus getting like an OmniMax hybrid that has the polymer receiver on it. Those are lightweight. They're okay. They go bang most of the time, but I've had experience with several of them, and they almost always have some kind of problem somehow, some way. Odds are your entry-level AR is not going to come with any sort of optic or sight or anything like that. And honestly, at the price point that we're looking at, there's not a whole lot that you could do. I would recommend going online and trying to find yourself iron sights. Don't bother with the optic because at your particular price point, especially since we still have to throw a handgun into the mix, like you won't be able to get a very good optic for the price point that you're looking at. So I would recommend going with iron sights, probably just, you know, $20-ish. Make sure they're metal so they're fairly durable. I would recommend fixed sights like what I have here on this Radical, as opposed to flip up sights just because your fixed sights are going to be more durable. Again, don't even bother with the optic at this particular price point. So we got the AR, we got a way to aim it. It should come with at least one magazine, and I guess that's just gonna have to do. So we got that one mag. Now as for your sidearm, there's a couple of options out there, but nothing really spectacular. I would recommend looking for something like this right here. This is a Sky, S-K-Y-Y or S-C-C-Y. They had to change their name due to some copyright infringement with Sky Vodka, and that's a whole story for another video. But these work fairly decently. They do have some issues. Once you get them past that break-in period, once you run about 200 or so rounds through it, then they start to get more reliable. I've ran a tremendous amount of rounds through this thing. You can tell from the wear on the magazine. And it's to the point where I don't really get any malfunctions with it by this point. This particular one is a double action only, so that more or less is the safety. This one has a actual manual safety on it, if that's the route that you decide to go. I know they come with or without manual safeties. This holds 10 rounds inside of the magazine, and I think that these come with 2 mags if you buy them new. New, they're about $150, but again, I advocate for that used market since we're on an extreme budget here. So we're going to say we got about $400 in the AR. I'm willing to bet that if you look around, you could probably find something like this for about $100. It might not be exactly the Sky. Maybe it's some Taurus 380 pocket pistol. I think I got one of those over here, actually. Yeah, maybe it's like some Taurus 380 pocket pistol. This particular one also came with 2 mags, and I picked this one up for, I think it was $99 used at my particular local gun store. But this right here, again, although it is compact, it is a sidearm, and for the price point that we're looking at, this right here is really not that bad of an option. Bottom line, do some looking around, see what you have available to you. I would recommend 9mm over 380 just because of cost and availability and whatnot, but you do have a couple of options in terms of what you might find with your sidearms, depending on what you can find in your particular location. If you can't find any semi-auto 9mm or 380s within your price point that can work for you, there's actually quite a few 22 long rifle revolvers. Maybe you'll find one that's even chambered in 22 Magnum that can definitely be had for under that $100 price point, because they're like $100 new. So if you look around and you manage to find one on the used market for, say, $75, then guess what? Go ahead and pick that up, and you are not over your price point. Now, after all of that, you got your AR, you got your handgun. That's pretty much all the money that you have. Your handgun is less important than your rifle because in a prepared citizen sort of standpoint, the odds of you using your sidearm are extraordinarily low. You're definitely going to be using your primary firearm unless that thing goes down, which, I mean, it is likely, but with modern machining and whatnot, even entry-level ARs are actually pretty gosh darn good. But the likelihood of you using a sidearm for any real potential situation whenever you're actively carrying a primary firearm is, again, extraordinarily low. So you definitely want to focus on the additional stuff for the primary firearm. Your sidearm, if it comes with 2 mags, fantastic. That would work for a extreme budget situation. I would not spend more money on more mags for your sidearm. Whatever you have left over, definitely spend on more mags for your AR, because that's probably only going to go with 1. So if we figure we got $350 plus those sights, $380, and then the handgun, we're going to call it like $100, so $20. You could probably pick up 2 AR mags at that particular price, and then you got yourself 1 in the gun, 2 in the pocket, and then your sidearm, and no holsters or slings or attachments or anything like that. $500 just is not enough to be able to stack what you need. I would definitely break that up to at least $750. So you can get, you know, slings and attachments and lights and, you know, a holster for your handgun and ways to carry magazines and additional stuff. It's not just about getting the gun. You need more to go with it. I thought about going with like a cheapo shotgun or something like that, but we're not talking about a survival situation. We're talking about a prepared citizen Minuteman. You're going into battle situation. And bringing in like a Turkish shotgun or something like that would not be ideal by any stretch of the imagination. The setup we have is not ideal, but I would take the setup that we have over a Turkish shotgun and something else. But man, and on top of that, you don't have any money for ammo. So I hope that whoever it is you're bunking with ends up giving you a couple of rounds. So there we go. Considering the extremely tight situation that we find ourselves in, I think that is going to be our best option. I thought about going with something like a high point, And high points are good, don't get me wrong. But let's be honest, at the price point that you can get a high point, you can get better options. Like if you're going out and getting a new gun, like a new high point's about 150 bucks, and you can get a Browning tilting barrel for that same price. This is polymer frame, lighter weight, holds more ammo, double stack magazine. This is, in my own personal opinion, a better option than a high point, especially if you manage to find one that's properly functional. Okay, well, we could probably just sit here and rant about this topic all day long, so I'm just going to go ahead and close out this video. I wonder how many people are going to be made upset by it. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.